What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle for the next episode in our weekend review. So if you don't remember, this is a little bit of like a slow-paced series. This is going to be something that I haven't done in quite some time because the channel got super busy, and now things are like slowing down. It's been about 3 or 4 months of things slowing down, and so I feel like now that there's time, I really need to get back on the horse and start doing these video log series that I promised, and that used to be such a staple of the channel. I used to do these all the time. Every single weekend. If you don't know what weekend review was, it's a series that I used to do. I know there's a lot of new people here now, so I figured I'd explain at the beginning. Old school people, go get a soda or a beer or a snack or something. Come back in like 1.5 minutes. It'll be all good. But weekend review is a series that I used to do where we just kind of get behind the scenes and talk about things as they function on the channel, what my rationale is for like some of the decisions that I make on the channel, and where things are going as of right now. I don't really have a whole lot of like clairvoyance to give you as to what we're going to be working on in the coming weeks, aside from Shadowrun Hong Kong releases on the 30th, as far as I can tell. It doesn't have a release date on Steam, but if you look, there's actually a trick to that. If you go to the upcoming list, even if it has no date listed, it seems like there's an internal date listed inside of it somehow, and so they've got Shadowrun Hong Kong, I think, listed as the 30th of July. We should have that up and running pretty soon, but aside from that, there's not a whole lot of games that I'm looking forward to playing. I would like to get some more roguelikes on the channel as of right now. I feel like that's something that I've neglected lately, and so I am brushing up on some Caves of Cud. I am brushing up on some Tales of Majayal, because I always wanted to do like a full series of Majayal. I do want to do a series of Cud, but I've got to make it out of Red Rock first. Like, I understand the basics of the game, and I understand how to play right now, but oh my god, that game is just, it's so bursty. Like, right now I'm running like a Goro type character where he's got multiple arms and he's got regeneration and some other stuff, and so I've got him wielding like 2 shields and 2 weapons, and at the same time he's got 2 sets of gloves and like 2 sets of arm gear and everything. It's crazy, but I think that for right now, well, actually I've got him with 4 shields. He's got 4 shields, 3 weapons, and a torch. And it's just like, he's such a good character, but the game is so hot or cold. That's what I've noticed about Caves of Cud, is that it's very much sort of an old school roguelike, in the sense that like when you're playing it, on occasion you just get cleaved in half randomly, and you're just like, that was such a good playthrough. What just happened? Like, nothing can scratch me, and then you walk up against one enemy that you've never seen before, and he's just like, and you just fall over, and that's that, game over. But anyways, that's what I'm looking on doing in the future. We might have some Caves of Cud, we might have ourselves some Tome in the future. We will be doing a Hong Kong Shadowrun playthrough, so be excited for that. I'm definitely vibrating internally, waiting for that to come out. It's one of those things where I try not to think about it too much, because I get too excited and too stoked whenever I think about it. But for right now, things I think on the channel are very much settled. We're in a position right now where we have nowhere to go but up. We've definitely found sort of like a standardized performance level on the channel. We've been doing about 3 million views a month now for about 3 or 4 months. That's down from 6 million or 5 million a month that we were doing around the peak. Like, it was peak season, so you know, it's hard to judge by that. But in November, December, and January, I think we did about 5 to 6 million views a month, and so now we're at 3 million. That's still perfectly fine. You expect things to settle throughout the year. Christmas is known as the heyday of YouTube for a reason, and so I don't feel like we're at a low point right now, but I definitely feel like we're at a point where I need to hustle. And so when you look at the channel right now, you may be noting that we've got lots and lots of new series coming out. There's a lot of things going on. My rationale with that is thus, a lot of the games that are coming out lack the density of content to really last more than 5 to 7 episodes. And so what I'm doing is I'm just shotgunning those out real fast so that we can cover the series, we can give some impressions on it, but at the same time, I know that we can't stick with it for like 45 episodes like we have done with Ark. And so that means that I'm just working a lot right now to put out a lot of little series. Now, obviously, this is a stressful period for me when I work on stuff like that, because little series, it's nice when you're on YouTube and you've got series that you know are going to last 25 episodes, and you've got like 6 or 7 of those just like lined up and ready to go, because then you don't have to worry about where the channel is going over the coming weeks. When you're in a situation like this, it's sort of just like little series, find a new series, find a new series, little series, little series. And so it can be stressful, but don't worry about it. I think we're going to be all right. My response to when things get sort of just like flatlined on the channel is just to hustle even harder. I'm not going anywhere. Everything's going good. I have some cool business things coming up in the future. I was talking with my representation this week. I work for a company called Screenwave Media. That's essentially who sponsors my channel, and they set me up with sort of like employment deals and stuff like that with Loot Crate and other places. There's a very, very cool business deal coming up that I've been offered directly from YouTube, actually, and this is like a rare thing. This doesn't happen very often. And so anyways, YouTube right now is signing deals with like 25 to 35 people on YouTube to help out with YouTube gaming when it starts up. And so it's something that I can't talk too much about right now because the paperwork is not finalized. It's a thing that is not actually in writing yet. but the guy that represents my channel when he goes to YouTube and talks about things, he's sort of like a manager, I guess. He goes and he talks, he's kind of like a manager meets an agent, I guess. He goes and he talks with YouTube, he talks with different business associates, and essentially he contacted me the other day and he's like, well, I got this thing that YouTube sent over for you, and I need a yes or a no before they'll send over the paperwork. And after he explained what it was, I said yes. I don't want to go too far into it, but big things are on the horizon for the channel, and I'm excited about it. I very much am. And so anyways, I don't want to get too in-depth about it because I'm going to get excited, and I'm trying to stay cautiously optimistic at the moment, but it's definitely going to be a good thing for the channel. As far as Twitch streaming goes, where are we with Twitch streaming? Twitch streaming is doing better than it ever has before. I think we're pulling 200 viewers a night, pretty much. And if I'm doing something that people really want to see, like Ark, or if I'm playing something like Terraria, we can do 200, 250, almost 300 viewers some nights, and it's very, very cool. The stream has never been healthier. If you've never checked the stream out before, I highly recommend you stop by. It's just me hanging out. It's a little bit, though, I will say this, it's not kid-friendly. So I know a lot of parents out there watch my videos with their kids or whatever. I get emails from them all the time, and I know there's a large subculture of people on my channel who they watch my videos with their kids because I try to keep it at sort of like a PG-13 level, kind of like an Adam Sandler level, I guess, which, by the way, it appears as though he's gotten himself into trouble with Pixels. I haven't seen it yet, but people said it was so bad that I kind of want to go see it just to see if it's as terrible as people are making it out to be. But anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, yes, my streams are not kid-friendly, though, so if you have little ones, you earmuff them, you know, put them to bed or something. But either way, I do use a lot of language in my streams because I consider that to kind of be like my late night with Splattercat type deal where I'm hanging out, and that's where I'm going to really crack sort of the risque jokes and just sort of blow off steam, because that's at the end of my workday. Basically, the streams kind of fall in this sweet spot where I've already done like my 8-hour workday, and then when I go to stream, it's just time for me to hang out with you as a viewer and just shoot the shit for a little while, have a good time, and just crack jokes, have a couple beers, and have fun playing a video game. And so obviously I don't want to get into trouble with any of the parents out there. It is not safe for work. If you see me posting them to the channel, you'll know that I always label them, but still, definitely not for younger ears and things like that. But the stream is doing well. I think that Twitch streaming, I think we're up to like 90 or 95 subscribers on Twitch right now. I need to sit down and make some more PNGs so you guys can have the cool little emoticons once you subscribe. I'm going to get it done maybe this weekend or maybe on Monday. I've got a voice acting job that I got to do right now, though, so it's always busy, busy, busy for me here. I've got to turn in a script. I've got to read a script real fast, I think later today for... It's kind of like a red versus blue type thing. I'm not really sure what it is. I took a look at the script, and it looks interesting. It's kind of like top 10 countdowns, and then they said if I do well with that, there will be other stuff along the way. I don't know. I haven't looked too far into it, but it's stuff to keep the mind occupied. I don't like to be bored for too long. I don't like to be sitting still. I'm the kind of person that if I don't have like beads of sweat running down my forehead, I feel like I'm not working at all. And so there's a lot of stuff going on right now, but I think the channel's doing well. As far as Twitch streaming goes, with YouTube gaming coming out pretty soon in the future, I'm not exactly sure how that's all going to play together. I am going to make a concerted effort to make an appearance on YouTube gaming and definitely try and be out there. You know, I might actually, what I may do is I may expand into weekends or something like that. I'm looking at my schedule right now. I may cut back on videos so that we're only doing 3 series a day. So 3 videos a day permanently, like we just get rid of the 4th video. And then in there, that would lower my workload enough to where I would have like an extra 3 or 4 hours a week to play around with. And then I would stream full-time like one day on a weekend on YouTube Gaming. I don't know, though, because everything with YouTube Gaming right now is all speculative. Like, they've sent down a little bit of information through the guy that runs my channel, my manager or whatever. They've sent some information through him about how it's going to work. Right now, YouTube streaming is sort of like iffy. I'm hoping that YouTube Gaming really sort of just like retrofits the entire thing and makes it function a little bit better, because as of right now I'm pretty comfortable on Twitch TV, but I do want to show up on YouTube as well, because I think it'll be a good idea. It's sort of like one of those things, like I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, but at the same time YouTube is such a big basket and such a cushy one that it's hard to not be tempted to do so. And so anyways, Twitch streaming will continue. I need to sit down, though, and basically put it all into an Excel spreadsheet and figure out, like, where I'm going to be at what hour working on what, once I'm going to be expected to be streaming on 2 separate services a week. And so it's going to get a lot busier. I'll tell you that right now. It's busy right now, but it is going to get busier. Let's talk about some of the series that I have up on the channel. I got a little checklist right here, things that I wanted to talk about. And so this is going to be the portion of our weekend review where I sort of just hang out for a minute and talk about things that we have going on with the channel. Let's start out with Antharian, because I thought Antharian was a pretty cool game. I want to know what you guys thought about Antharian. I did a weekly indie newcomer on it, and I was really pleased. I've been playing the hell out of that game. I think I've got 35 or 40 hours in it right now. I'm running 3 separate campaigns with 3 separate parties because I wanted to play around with everything. I do like the game, so if you haven't had the chance to check out the Antharian review, you should definitely check it out. I think that if you're a fan of Ultima games, if you're a fan of like Planescape Torment, if you're a fan of Echelon, if you're a fan of Avedon or any of those types of games, I think you would very much be interested in Antharian. It's a hardcore dungeon crawling RPG with a 4-man party that you create from scratch, very much in the vein of like Eye of the Beholder, or maybe like Warriors of the Red Sun. That's what I see a lot in it, is Warriors of the Red Sun, where there's not really like a ton of storyline. You just sort of like wander around the map and get more and more badass as time goes along. So anyways, check out the review if you haven't already. I liked the game a lot. I figured I would share it with all of you. Next week, I'm going to have a review up of a game I think called Vector Thrust. Let me take a look at it right now. I've got a couple of reviews that I'm working on right now, but I haven't had enough hours in the game. I really try to get, if you wanted to know how I orchestrate my impressions videos and my reviews, just kind of behind the scenes, I really prefer to have at least 6 hours in game before I start writing anything. And honestly, things have been a little bit weird lately, but I think it's called Vector something. Is it Vector something? I think it's called it. I gotta find it here on the list. Vector Thrust. Yep, that's the game. I've been checking out Vector Thrust this week. I think I'm probably going to do a weekly indie newcomer on that next week. Victor Vran releases pretty soon, so I might do a weekly indie newcomer on that. I have no real schedule for my weekly indie newcomers. It used to be a Friday series, so in order to clear that all up, I would say that right now, I was trying to rebrand the channel in the direction of video logs, impressions videos, and then a lot lighter LP content. Somewhere along the way, I sort of fell off the bus with that, though. But I am trying to do like 3 video logs a week, and I'm trying to do 2 reviews a week right now. But as time permits, that could be a very, very difficult task, because as with all impressions and review content, like, it doesn't matter what you're reviewing, whether it's a movie or whatnot, you have to play the majority of the thing before you can review it. If you don't, I feel like it's kind of one of those disingenuous things that you're misleading people. It's hard to play a game for an hour and a half and then do a review of it because you haven't seen half the content. And so anyways, it comes down to sort of a time crunch sometimes, because I do a lot of LPs. And so I try to sneak it in. Basically, the time when I work on my reviews is usually from like midnight to like 3 in the morning. After everybody in my house goes to sleep, I hang out for a little bit and I just play whatever that game is, because my laptop is out front. Usually I like to spend time with the fam for a little bit after I get done working. Just make sure that you're putting, it's very important. You should always try and do that. Don't let work get in the way, seriously. Nobody ever got old on their deathbed dying and said, hey, I wish I had worked a little bit harder. Like, it's always family stuff that you regret. So I try anyways. I had problems with that when I first started out, where it was just like work, 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 work. In the last year or so, I've really sort of tried to taper it down and spend a lot more family time and get out there and make sure that, you know, you make FaceTime and that you are spending the proper amount of time with the family. But anyways, that aside, once my family time is over, everybody goes to sleep. I try to get in there and spend 3 or 2.5 hours playing a game that I'm planning on reviewing, but as I said, sometimes things go wrong and I gotta work on other stuff that late at night. We got a bunch of series running right now. We've got Better Late Than Dead, which is performing very, very well. I'm happy with it. I think the game definitely has its own little personal issues. I think that maybe they may have released to early access a little too soon. But at the same time, you can see what they're going after. I think it's one of the few games right now that's incorporating a lot of horror ideology, or a lot of random horror bits and pieces into the survival equation, and it's got a very Resident Evil feeling to it. That's what it reminds me of. Like, the game's got a lot of rough edges, as Resident Evil used to, but at the same time, it does a pretty good job at making you feel just kind of uneasy about the whole thing, even though there's not really any threats in the game right now. I'm hoping that later on, there'll be things that are a bit more aggressive. I think the animal AI right now is pretty bad, and it could be a lot better. But I think that with Better Late Than Dead, there's not a whole lot of content, so we'll probably be done with that around episode 7 or 8. I've got 5 episodes recorded right now. I'm going to sit down on Monday or Tuesday, and I think I'm going to do a couple more episodes, and that'll be the last batch. I do like Better Late Than Dead, but I think that it suffers in the same way that all survival games suffer in early access, where they just don't have a lot of content, and then you just kind of wait for things to get fleshed out, if indeed they ever do. But anyways, I do like the game for right now. It's rough. It's got bad animations, iffy graphics. You know, a lot of this stuff definitely needs a little bit of loving, but I like what they're working with. Terraria 1.3. Terraria 1.3 is one of those, like, labors of love for me right now. It performed really well on the front end, and it still performs okay as far as the channel is concerned, but I find that I want to play it, and so I figure we'll probably keep that going for a little while. I'm going to beat normal mode probably this week. I think we're pretty close. I think I need to craft like a Knight's Edge. I need to do a couple other things inside of the game. You haven't seen all those episodes just yet, but we're pretty much at the point where where I stopped recording, where we should be able to take on the wall of flesh and then just jump into hard mode. Whether or not we continue from there is going to depend very heavily upon the fact of whether I can rely on the series to pull consistent attention. As of right now, it's doing pretty well. Let me take a look at these numbers. Yeah, the numbers are solid right now. They look good. I'm not upset with them. I think they look all right, and I definitely think people are flowing through. We had some weird issues last week where YouTube wasn't sending my videos out to subscribers, and so it's kind of hard to judge things right now because the notifications weren't working for like a week, and now they seem to be working again. So I don't know. I can tell because I pretty much do like 7,500 views on everything if the series is reasonably popular, and I can tell when like the notifications aren't working because just arbitrarily a video will only get like 2,500 views. And that's how it's been for like a week right now. And so I'm pretty sure notifications aren't working. I conferred with a couple other YouTubers, and they were like, yeah, my notifications have been hit or miss all week too. So it looks like Terraria is doing really, really well. I think that I'll probably do hard mode. Whether or not I'll reboot it. And so what I would do is I would start it as a second series. It would be like, let's play Terraria 1.3 hard mode episode 1 once we start that off, and then I just annotate it at the beginning maybe and be like, hey, if you haven't seen the first series and you want to know how we got all this gear, you want to go watch the first like 25 episodes that are back there. But for right now, we're going to go in all the hard mode challenges. I think that might be a better way. So for some of the people that maybe broke off around episode 5 or 6 and were like, well, I don't want, it was fun, but I don't want to watch you get all this basic gear that I've done 1,000 times over, call me when hardcore starts. I think that doing episode 1 and just kind of resetting the whole thing as sort of like a season 2 in hard mode might be the best way to get eyes back on the screen. But I don't know. I'll take a look at it once we get there. I think that's a bridge that we're not going to cross for another week or so. I would like to play hard mode and just sort of see where it goes. From some of the gameplay that I've seen so far, it looks like it's going to be pretty fun. So, I'm enjoying the hell out of Terraria. I always wish that I had a chance to play it, but it kind of came out way before my channel started. And by the time my channel started, it was so played out and overdone that there was no point doing a series on it. No, everybody was bored with it already. It's kind of like doing a Skyrim series nowadays. It's like, well, everybody, I would assume a lot of people without mods, everybody's bored of that game. And then if you load it up with like 900 mods, you got to deal with compatibility issues and everything else. Still, I do like Skyrim a lot. I had contemplated doing a New Vegas playthrough, but I had gotten copyright claimed on like everything on my Vegas. I did a couple of test episodes and uploaded them and just kind of let them sit there in private mode for a while, and they got flagged like crazy by like random copyright claims and whatnot. All my other series were okay, but for whatever reason, the second you put up a New Vegas video, people are all over it. And I had all the music turned off too. It's just like it seems like they actively have somebody flagging them for copyrights. We're playing, what else do we have going on right now? We got the Flame and the Flood going on. The Flame and the Flood is a game that I really, really like. I think that the Flame and the Flood suffers once again from a lack of content, but they did a good job in making sure that the tech demo at least gave you some representative idea of what the game was going to be like once you got it. I think that once you get up to like 15 kilometers downstream, the game is very challenging. There starts to be like 2 or 3 wolves at every location. It starts to get really, really nasty, where it turns into a bit of a Home Alone situation where you got to set booby traps all over the map and then just like run like crazy, like, yeah, don't bite me, ugly doggy. And just like really, really hope you don't get chewed to death. I will say that like 100% of all my deaths right now are at the hands of wolves. I don't crash the raft very often. I tend to do pretty well with that. I don't starve or die of cold very often. It's the wolves. The wolves just seem to get me over and over and over again. And so I figure I must be doing something wrong. But I've got 5 or 6 episodes of The Flame and the Flood recorded right now. Once again, it's going to be one of those things where I heavily monitor a series just to make sure that people are into it. I like to cycle things out very quickly if people are just like, and if people don't seem like they like it, I try to cycle rapidly. But for right now, I think I've got 4 or 5 episodes recorded. I think we broke off on episode 3. There's a little bit of a break yesterday on Saturday, but it should all be fine with The Flame and the Flood. I'm probably going to try and get that one out. I don't know. I've got it recorded right now, and in the I've recorded it to completion right now. And so at the end of the final episode, I've got a little shout out where I'm like, hey, leave lots of likes, comments. Just let me know if you want me to do another run, because I guess we can do another one. I mean, your average run in The Flame and the Flood only takes like an hour and a half. And that's if you're like good at the game. But anyways, I think that's about all we got going right there with Ark. Ark, we're sort of running out of challenges, and Ark is sort of a redheaded stepchild. I don't know what to do with it right now. It's a series that I like doing. I love dinosaurs. I love survival games. But Ark, the problem is this. Everybody really likes Ark, and that's not the problem in and of itself. I feel like I've run out of stuff to do in Ark, though. Like, there are still things we can accomplish, but they're all the sorts of things that take like a really, really long amount of time, and so I gotta farm those out on weekends, and it turns into one of those things where I will probably keep it going for a while because I've got a whole bunch. I think I've got like 5 or 6 more episodes recorded of it, so that I didn't have to worry about it. I've got enough on the docket right now to keep Ark going for at least another week, I think. But at a certain point, I've got to decide when it's gone far enough and when we can move on to something else. And so for right now, I think we've done a pretty solid job. We didn't do a whole lot of multiplayer. If I could import my character into a multiplayer server, I think I'd be a lot more happy about the prospects. It takes a really, really long time to level unless you're with a tribe, so I was thinking about doing a multiplayer playthrough, but it's one of those things where I gotta hook up with people and then get leveled really fast, so we can essentially pick back up right from where we left off. I could farm narcotics for like a couple days and probably level up really, really fast if I just spent a couple hours a day on it. But I don't know. I'm just not sure if I'm burned out yet. I don't want to jump into like a new like 60 episode series on Ark if internally I'm tired of it and I just can't admit it, you know what I mean? So that's going pretty well right now. I think Stalker actually is Stalker is an odd series out for us right now, and I think that's due to a couple of facts. A couple of other major YouTubers right now in the last 2 weeks or so launched Stalker Clear Sky playthroughs, and so I think I really poorly planned that for release. I think that looking at the way that it's going right now, it's going alright. I think it's definitely, people like it and people are watching it, but I think I just timed it poorly. I should have taken a look at the search returns before I started that series. There's a lot of like conniving and cunning bullshit that goes on behind the scenes when you're a YouTuber. You're trying to decide what you want to play. At least if you want to be a YouTuber that is long for this world, that doesn't have an expiration date. And as of right now, Stalker is a series, I'm going to beat it. I'm not going to break it off because I like the game and I want to play it right now. And actually, I feel like Stalker Clear Sky is superior to the first game so long as you mod it a little bit. I think I like the idea of the gameplay being emergent and how you walk around the map and there's just random objectives that you can burn like hours and hours and hours fiddling with. I also think that I messed up because I played around on the first map too long learning the mechanics, and so I've got like 7 episodes of me on the first map accomplishing nothing when I should have just like plunged forward and gone as far into the map as I could and just kind of gone off after the main storyline. I think people got bored of watching me play capture the flag and, you know, tower defense. So Stalker's kind of in a weird place right now. We're not going to break it off. I think it's doing poorly. I think it's not a series that's going to be strong. I think the series is in an odd place right now where I've just got to keep an eye on it and monitor it. But once again, it's hard to tell because notifications haven't been working for like a week. And they just started working again yesterday. Like, that's when I saw numbers jump back up again. And so it's kind of a weird place to be in right now where I can't use any of the data that I currently have because it's all sort of corrupted by the fact that YouTube hasn't been functioning the way it normally does. So anyways, Stalker Clear Sky, I like the game. I think that they've done a lot of positive changes in Clear Sky. I think the enemies are a tad accurate. Like, some of the enemies are very, very accurate with their rifles. Almost to a fault. Like, they aim faster than almost any player could given the... I guess there's like a little bit of a... There's a degree of freedom with regards to where the bullet flies when you aim. And so since the game isn't just like fire and hit scan, the bullet kind of goes off to the sides in small variations and vectors. Like, it doesn't always go straight. Sometimes it's like slightly a degree or two off in different directions. It's difficult to aim in that game. Sometimes you just got to beat in on their head and fire slowly a couple times until finally you get the perfect bullet that flies straight and gets them right between the eyes. Whereas the AI seems to pop off those shots very, very rapidly and easily. I do think that putting the complete mod on it was a smart idea. I am liking the game a lot based on the advancements. I think they just tried something very, very different with Clear Sky than they did in the first game, Shadows of Chernobyl, and I think people backlashed against it. And then in addition, I think the game was really buggy when it came out, but I'm playing a modded version that's turning out pretty well for me, so I don't really know what else to say about it. I'm liking it, and I hope that everybody else is liking it. I think that's about all we've got on the list right now. We've talked about, well, we finished Guild of Dungeoneering. Guild of Dungeoneering got a little repetitive. It was one of those games that, like, when you first start playing it, it's really, really fun. But by the time you get about 4 or 5 hours in, you're like, okay, we do basically the same thing every single time we go into a dungeon. Like, we go here, we collect X amount of equipment, then we do this. Like, there's a timing. Once you figure out the mechanics, I think that the game suffers from a little bit of oversimplicity. I think that it needs a hook. Like, it needs something to grab you and sort of force you to keep you in game. But we did finish Guild of Dungeoneering. I will say that in terms of polish and in terms of being an indie game, it is a good indie game. I think that it just doesn't have the staying power that a lot of other games do. I think that it's solid. I think the idea is good. I like the artistic direction. I liked everything about it, except for the fact that once you've been through like 8 dungeons, you've basically been through like all the dungeons, aside from like some small monster variations along the way. As far as Sunless Sea goes, I decided to kind of give Sunless Sea a break for right now. We might go back and play it again in the future, but what I'll do then... what I was thinking about doing, so I have like a save game right now that's really, really awesome where I have like 20,000 echoes and a bunch of other stuff. I was thinking about giving it a couple months rest, and then once they launch the DLC expansion, killing that character and using my Scion to restart with all of my money so that we can do like all the stuff over again, but we can jump straight into a Corvette at the beginning of the game, which I think is one of the major things that holds the game back. The first steamer is like terrible, and you gotta wait at least like 7 to 8 hours of gameplay before you're gonna be able to get into a Corvette, unless you really know your way around the map. If you really know your way around, you might be able to get into a Corvette 2 or 3 hours if you know exactly the points to hit for all the captivating treasures. But that's what I was thinking about doing so that we're all on the same page with Sunless Sea. I am actively playing Fallen London right now. If you wanted to hook up with me on Fallen London, I accept all requests except for things that raise my nightmares. I only take those sometimes. My name on Fallen London is just Splattercat. So hey, feel free to hit me up on there. It's very much sort of a social game. I'm trying to hook up with a lot of people from the fan base, help you out a little bit. You can help me out a little bit. I find Fallen London, it's one of my favorite things of the day, is sitting down and eating my breakfast and like drinking my whatever, drink my orange juice, and then watching my Fallen London progress go through. I do have the whatever friend benefit. I paid like the $6 or whatever for a subscription so that I get 40 actions or whatever every couple hours. And I like the game a lot. The writing is really fantastic. And if you've played Sunless Sea, if you've played both games, it's interesting the way that all the information comes together, because Sunless Sea gives you just enough information to not know what's going on, and Fallen London is the exact same way. It gives you just enough information to not know what's going on, but it's weird how often they fill in each other's gaps and they allow you to figure out what's going on in the game world. And so anyways, check out Fallen London right now. I'm playing the game. I think it's probably one of the better browser games that's out there. I play my turns once or twice a day, and I try to answer all my messages and do all the little social things that people ask me to do, because that's a big portion of the game and being good at it and successful at it. So anyways, feel free to hit me up on Fallen London. I am playing that a lot. People ask me pretty often what I'm playing in my free time, so I figured I'd answer that question here right now. The things that I'm playing in my free time, I'm playing a lot of Antharian. I'm playing quite a bit of Caves of Cud. I'm playing a little bit of Tales of Maj'Eyal, although not as much as I would like to, and then Fallen London. Those are going to be the games that are eating up a lot of my time right now. I have been actively thinking about getting back into Final Fantasy XIV, but I'm a little bit iffy about the way that it's going to affect my time scheduling. I don't want to be one of those streamers slash YouTubers that takes up an MMO, gets addicted to it, and then is like, oh, well, all of my content is going to be about this MMO from now on. You know, I don't want to do that, and I'm the sort of person that would do that, and so knowing my own mindset, I've been sort of putting it off until I really know what I want to do, until I really find like an open space in my day where I could sit down and really like get into the nitty-gritty of an MMO. But anyways, I think that's going to do it for today. I'm going to try and keep these weekend reviews down to about 30 minutes or so. I think before they tended to drag out to like an hour and a half, and I think that was a big problem with them, but that's due to the fact that I used to do a Q&A here. Now that we split it up into the Q&A videos every Friday or whatever we're going to do, we'll do the Q&A there, so be sure, if you didn't see that this week, we launched a new series called Weekly Q&A. It's going to be on Fridays, and if you have not seen the video, go watch it, leave me your questions. I'm going to try and answer them in the most humorous way possible. I've already been compiling the list for next week so we can get it done. I should have a video log up this week. I'm still looking for subjects that I want to do it on right now. That's one of the biggest, actually the research work is the hardest part about doing video logs for me. Sitting down and actually learning enough about a subject to talk about it is a huge pain in the ass sometimes when you're trying to work it into your free time. But I think I got a couple of ideas for this week. I'm going to try and get going with more of my little video logs where we just talk about random nerd culture stuff or just random issues that maybe I can give people help with. But anyways, I will see you all later. This is our weekend review. Check it out every Sunday if you want to know what's going on behind the scenes. And I will see you all later. How do, everybody? Bye.